Hey guys, hi, welcome back once again. My name is Vaishali and today I'd like to reflect on this particular video.
This town belongs to two countries. Yes, there is a line that splits everything in half. The streets, shops, houses, government, taxes, and even the name of the town is split in half. This is the most interesting town in Europe. Welcome to Barl. This is Barl Hertog in Belgium, and this is Barl Nassau in the Netherlands. There are two countries that share the town. And yes, there are two churches, two bus lines, two mailboxes, and even two different beers.
This is Belgium and this is Holland.
This line is the border, and it splits everything in two: shops, buildings, and city hall.
As you can see, the borderline is running to this boardroom. Now I am in Belgium, and I can hop over to the Netherlands.
It even splits houses in half. So, check it out, guys. These are called line houses.
This borderline divides this house through the front door. So that means that side is Belgium, that side is the Netherlands.
Everyone who lives here has to follow the door rule. If your front door is in the Netherlands, you live in the Netherlands. And if your front door is in Belgium, you live in Belgium. But here's the crazy part. You still have to pay taxes for two countries.
If you have a home like this, then you have to pay tax for the square meters you have in Belgium or in the Netherlands.
So we asked the locals, which side is cheaper to live on? And it turns out it's Belgium.
Shopping in the Netherlands is cheaper and living is in Belgium cheaper, so you can choose a bit which one you prefer.
You might be wondering, why is the town like this? Well, let me tell you a story. Turns out, 800 years ago, two guys created this border to separate their land. And centuries later, these land borders became country borders. One town, two countries. This town is still split into two, and they're still living in peace.
All the people together are doing really fun, cool stuff together.
The big idea here is simple. Borders. Most of the world thinks that borders should look like this. Big walls, barbed wire, electric fences, and...
So as I watched this video for the first time, I was just awestruck in fascination. The fascination soon turned to curiosity, making me wonder, wow, they get to choose their expenses alongside their taxes, and that too for both the countries. On land, on edible stuff, and some even pay their taxes to both the governments. They share two nationalities just within the same shop or home that they own, that they call their own. Which also tells us that if they are living in such a place, at times the family members can be living in two different nations, functioning under two different laws. And this just doesn't apply to family members, it's even applied to organizations, to schools, to workplaces, and all places where we come together as social creatures. Now this awestruck curiosity soon also turned to observatory inquiry, where I began to ponder and wonder, would different laws apply to them? Do they practice and even choose to adhere to different laws when they embody different nationality or national identity? Does the concept of patriotism apply to them or some of them like it applies to us? Are they loyal to one nation or to both nations, which also forms a part of our personal and interpersonal identity? So let's hypothetically consider as to how many of us would actually be okay identifying ourselves as an Indian and a Sinhalese person from Sri Lanka, as an Indian and a Burmese, as an Indian and a Bangladeshi, as an Indian and a Nepali, as an Indian and a Chinese, as an Indian and a Pakistani, as an Indian and an Afghani, at the same time, simultaneously, in the same breath. How many of us would actually be okay paying the taxes for these two countries, for having two nationalities at the same time, in the same breath? And then how many of us would actually be at peace, would actually be in harmony with answering that question for ourselves? How many of us will not face an internal resistance? How many of us will not experience a conflict both on intrapersonal and interpersonal levels? And in my understanding, that's a worthy question to consider. And from the shared video clip, it looked like that they probably have a higher trust factor, both on intrapersonal and interpersonal levels, to be able to establish and sustain that kind of a peace, that kind of a harmony. While on the other hand, most part of the world is still fighting to establish peace. Do they have more emotional and psychological agility, while the rest of the world may seem to look a lot more organized, but may also be rigidly codified with regards to their observed, learned habituated beliefs? Is there something that we need to relearn from them? Do we need to become a little more aware of all of the things that we identify with that form a part of our subconscious, of our unconscious, that we very rarely dive into? Do we need to bring that into our conscious awareness so that we start making better choices for ourselves, both on personal and interpersonal levels, so that the ripple effects of those thoughts, of those beliefs, of those choices are not only experienced throughout our lifetimes, but even experienced by those who come after us? So the shared clip, in my understanding through this video, talks not only about borders but also about boundaries on personal and interpersonal levels. Boundaries that should not be violated, boundaries that should be respected in more mindful ways. It reflects of our beliefs with regards in the context of borders, walls, fences, peace and war, law and order, taxes, shared spaces, places and identities, of harmony and chaos, of trust and mistrust, of loyalty, of identity, maybe even identity crisis. In my understanding, if we reflect enough, this video might help us identify our blind spots to enable changes that co-create an environment of well-being for one and all. For as Jiddu Krishnamurti had said, we cannot expect an individual to be healthy in a society that's profoundly sick. And in my understanding, if we do not become aware of these subconscious ailments, we cannot even begin to find a cure for it. So let's try and become aware of our personal, individual, and collectively shared blind spots, so that thereafter we can try and begin to make changes that are more mindful. Let's try and do that for ourselves, and I will see you once again the next week. Till then, stay tuned in. And guys, if you do like the contextual content of my videos, please do like, share and subscribe.